Hello everyone, Jacketing here. Alright, we're gonna weigh the M2, freaking finally. And I'm gonna get in the car also so you can actually figure out how much it weighs when I'm driving as well. With a car on the lift, absolutely no weight in it, half a tank of gas, no driver, we are at 3,778 pounds. Now,
we forgot one thing, Jackie.
What?
Toe hooks.
Those are track necessities. I think we'll just have to keep them in. Now next is for the driver, and I'm going to take my jacket off just to minimize additional pain. I'm going to leave my cell phone out here just because. Okay. 3778.
We're at 39.18.
So 140 pounds ish.
Okay, not that bad.
So what, 3778 to like 39, basically 3920 with driver. I think there's a lot of room to go, a lot of room to drop weight out of this thing, and be a fun challenge. And yeah, let's do it. First piece of mods I think we'll be doing on the G87 M2 would be these, the Milway camber plates. Actually, they're not sponsored at all. Our good friend, autocross national champion legend, Danny Cow, who's recently moved on to a 911 GTS. Before he bought the 911, he was on order for an M4. So obviously, you're doing what you do as Danny, you order parts for your car before it even shows up. So he ended up with these all the way from, where is it, Sweden?
I think Sweden.
Sweden? And he said, hey, you guys bought a car that this might fit on. Here you go. So thank you, Danny, for sponsoring this video and these lovely Milway camber plates. Very cool mods, and we're gonna try these out. And these won't be the only one we're putting on. Hopefully, the rest of the parts show up tomorrow. You join us underneath the M2 as we kind of walk over some of the things that we find interesting. First off, kind of the tradition since the old M2 competition, the gigantic aero mufflers.
But hey, have you seen 4 inlet for 1 muffler?
That's kind of nuts. That's really kind of nuts. Another thing I'd like to point out, this is probably not what they meant, but all of the parts are marked M4. It's super cool that all of these parts are labeled with the BMW M emblem, obviously. The rear suspension geometry is a little bit different from the Supra, not by a huge amount. The arms are mostly aluminum, and they're, I don't know, they just feel like nicer. One thing that is pretty spectacularly cool, if you come over here, you can see how that is different from the Supra, whereas the Supra had a knuckle that had 2 different connection points. This is kind of all right together, right above each other.
That's quite a decent amount of anti-squat.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Cool.
Dude, the entire crossover is tubular. Look at this.
Seriously, actually, holy crap.
Hey, look at this.
This is right. You see that right there? That's the electric motor for the rear diff actuation. Kind of fairly standard as the Supra. It's a little bit different though. This has a completely different design.
Yeah, way bigger pen.
And the cooling fins is freaking awesome. Yeah. Have you seen this thick boy aluminum brace that connects to 2 separate pieces? And right around the side, look at how this bends into supporting the chassis on the other side, and all of them kind of connects on the rear traction rod. It's just a lot of crazy engineering and support and structural rigidity that goes into these, which kind of also all contributes to how heavy it is because it's all metal. This is that's your fuel filler, and that's your fuel tank right there.
Very interesting.
If anything, it's much less of a saddle. Dude, it's almost not even like
It's flat.
It's pretty much flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much a flat tank. I thought it would have sit somewhere, but I guess that makes sense why it's so small.
because it sits under the back seat, so it's flatter than the Supra.
The Supra had to be kind of tall, kind of like an actual camel saddle. But this is almost like, Very cool.
I mean, you get your standard camber adjustment, your standard toe adjustment.
Yeah, but that's kind of it. And obviously, instead of being like the Supra kind of on this side, on the subframe, you do everything basically at the wheel side.
Yep.
And if you actually look at it, someone paint marked our car.
Very
like every single mark got paint marked.
Which means somebody aligned it at the factory.
Yeah, like by hand. I want to point you to one thing.
Oh, how close the sway bar is?
The sway bar to the upper arm
Yeah.
is like you can't even. Oh, they're either touching or they're like a millimeter apart.
They're like a millimeter apart. Yeah.
The other thing is
Hashtag clearance.
Yeah, hashtag clearance. Good job, BMW. The other thing, to change your sway bar, once again, you got to drop the whole subframe because it goes right over the top of it. Great job. So, Yeah, that's another like
Not surprised.
8-10 hour labor, full kind of fairly flat under panels.
Yeah.
This is fairly typical. This actually feels like a heavier grade material than it was on the Supra.
It seems like that way.
Yeah, a little thicker. It feels like. You still got your heat shielding, pretty standard stuff.
Very interesting exhaust routing though.
Yeah, the two turbos kind of one goes each way effectively. One goes that way, the other cat feeds it that way. So I don't know. Your transmission oil pan is different. The trans pan on the Supra was all plastic with a little cover piece.
I feel like this might be like a heavier duty version of the ZFA.
Yeah, so this is different. This kind of rear trans mount is way different.
Yeah.
This is way more solid, way more beefy. Look at that. There's a gigantic bushing in there too.
Yeah.
Right over here as well. Wow. Okay. I do want to talk about this because on picture, I noticed these. I'm like, what the hell are these things hanging off the car? And I wasn't sure until I saw a pair of them both at the same angle. These are deflectors. So I think fundamentally what they do is your tires have a lot of tire weight coming out of it, and it's dirty air. Now by adding a little piece of flank or like these little diverters, you're diverting these dirty air away from the underside of the car, keeping the underside of the car with clean air. GT3 has these,
Yes.
don't they? Like
Yes.
pretty much
GT4 RS has those too. Very similar effect.
the GT350s have these, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of become like a standard feature.
More of a more
for like
performance
modern
focused.
performance cars.
Like if anything, the Supra have one like right in front of the tire for drag reduction, but this is a little bit more fancy, so it's pretty cool. You still have your standard kind of the jacket point, I guess, over here.
Yeah.
And then you have your
Engine oil cooler.
engine oil cooler.
Has a certain aerodynamics set at the prime location to make front end lift.
There is this little lip at the front of it, I guess, to create a little bit more turbulence for air going in that way to feed it through that way.
No, actually, this is to create low pressure. The opposite
Wait.
side is your high pressure.
You're
so
right.
because it flows downward, right? So all the
Oh,
hot
so
air
it's,
come out this
you're
way.
right. It's trying
So
to
this is
pull air
more like
this
a
way.
flap on the top on the hood louver.
Yeah.
Just to create a little bit more turbulence,
To
so it's
pull
actually
air out.
pull air out.
You're right.
That's why I said it's in a
I was thinking about the.
Yeah, that's why I said it's in a prime location to make front end lift because you're literally moving air downward.
And you never want to do that.
No, you never want to do that.
Never
We'll
wanna
have to
do
work on that. Enormous brake. Like, I've never actually seen another car has this big of a fucking brake caliper. It's also radial mount,
Wait,
which means it's more rigid than
what
your
the hell?
regular. Yeah, you've never seen these before?
Radial mount.
Yeah. So remember
instead
the
of-
bolting? It's like a
Oh,
BBK.
yeah,
It
you're
goes
right.
through
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
Yeah, you're right, because the other ones all bolt like this way,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Instead
axial
of
mount
this
and the
way.
radial mount. This is radial mount. Radial mount is proven to be like a more rigid and more motorsport T solution. That's why you see all
Alex
like
Lee,
the
everyone.
rating. Like F1 cars usually bolted onto this way. It's not like the regular caliber bolt that goes in this way. And like the bolt goes in this way. Look at the fucking amount of intake getting to the center of the. That's why these things manage the heat so well. Because remember, on the Supra, you only have about like a quarter of this opening on the front, and yet this both the front and rear are open.
Oh, you still have a little brake air duct. See that? That's your brake duct. Brake to air duct.
Okay.
So if you stand where I am,
Yeah.
if you stand where I am, come over here, you can see that right there.
Oh, okay.
That's your kind of plastic tube.
Oh, it's right here. It's this one. Wait.
What?
Sway bar is on a complete different location. Our sway bar is under this.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That might be an actually more interesting one because the sway bar on the Supra was under, which, fun fact, causes a lot of people a lot of issues because if they do it wrong, it will freaking break the tie rod.
You know, things that you realize when you have the car apart. Remember the brake duct that we talked about? So on the inside the fender liner, there's this little flap thing that basically, if you look through it, it's connected to the brake duct, which is here, right? But what if you say what happens when your brake runs a little bit harder than usual? I need a little bit more air, airflow to my brake to cool them down. Check this out. You just open it up. Now you got more airflow into the wheel to cool your brakes.
And that is pretty much all the track prep we have planned for the M2. Basically, we have the Milway camber plates, we have Motorsport hardware stud conversion kit, we have removed the little cubby for the brake duct. Fairly simple, outside of the tow hooks and stuff. We didn't want to do too much in this kind of version 1.0 of the build because it's so early days and there's so much to learn and there's so much to find out. And obviously, we know what the next limit is outside of the driver bucket seat, which I hope is happening very soon. maybe not in time for this event, we want to switch out the wheels and tires for something that can maybe offer a little bit more grip. These are not forged aluminum wheels, even though they are, you know, fairly fancy style. They are not actually forged, which is kind of a surprise because even the Supra wheels are forged. In order to upgrade to kind of our forged philosophy, here we have the Titan 7 TD6E in one of the finishes I've loved the most. This is called the Hybrid Dark Machine. It's exquisite. I don't think there's a better word for it. The finish is absolutely ridiculous, and it's the super awesome 6-plug design. That is pretty freaking cool because not only do you have a lot of machined crevices here kind of to help shave out weight, even on the back side of the spoke. You can see that even the back of the spokes are hollowed out. We have the wheels. We have pretty much everything. We have the proper TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system. All we need to wait on is the tires, which, judging from my facial expression, you can tell, isn't here. And that's a mild concern because we have everything ready and I just need, today's the last day before we have to go to the event. And if the tires don't show up in time, we're a bit screwed, but you know, fingers crossed.